I'm Larry Curtis, campaign manager for Gary Keith Sr., along with Ed Miller, a part-time state employee working for State Senator Michael Brady, and also radio host of Stand Up Strong. Carl Pride, media center director of Brockton Cable Access, and Susanna Sudborough, a reporter with the Enterprise. Together, our group has worked hard to bring to you, the voters of the City of Brockton, this candidates forum. Some individuals have expressed both Ed's and my involvement in the interview process due to political association with some of the candidates for office. Together, we are here to ensure you that a balanced and transparent process has taken place during the interviews conducted on October 5th, 6th, and 7th. All candidates have had the right of not being interviewed by any one of us if they believed a conflict existed. I am happy to report that all scheduled interviews were conducted without any candidates' objections. This forum would not have taken place without the collaborative efforts of our volunteers, the Enterprise, Brockton Cable Access, and our candidates. Remember to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 2nd. It's an important election for the City of Brockton. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to the Brockton Candidates Forum 2021. I'm your host, Susanna Sudborough from the Brockton Enterprise, and we're pleased to have in studio today Tom Minichiello, candidate for Ward 1 for the City Council. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you think you would be a good candidate for the City Council.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time. My name is Tom Minichiello. I've been in the city my whole life. I grew up here as a child. Went to the Ashfield Elementary School. I went to East Middle School. Now it was East Junior High back then. Brockton High School, class of '83. Getting a little older these days. Little friend told me yesterday, "Hey, a lot of gray hair there, Tom." So I said, "Well, I have my hair though." So raised my family here. I have a business here. I've been on the school committee for a number of years. I was privileged to serve as the vice chair for 10 years, which is a real statement from my fellow school committee people, because they have to vote for you and to be on there for vice chair for 10 years is pretty rare. But it was a really a great privilege and a great opportunity. My children went to school here in Brockton. I raised my family here, and they were very successful. And they enjoyed the Brockton Public Schools. My wife, Patty, and I had confidence in the Brockton Public Schools and love our city. She grew up here, high school sweetheart, met her at the high school. And Brockton is just basically a part of us. And it's just a great place to be. It's a city of immigrants. The only thing that changes here is where people are from at any given time, from around the world. And that's what makes it interesting and inviting to a lot of people. It's a gateway city, and we're, I think, a very welcoming community, which is the way to be. So why do I think I'm prepared, or would I like to be city councilor? Well, again, my children have moved on. I wanted to have a stake in their education, and I think now it's time for someone else to take their turn who has a child. I think children in the system, you have a strong motivation for school committee. So now, my strong motivation is moving me towards wanting to broaden the issues that we deal with. I mean, you're dealing with education, but you're also dealing with public safety. You're dealing with the image of our community. You're dealing with the safety of our community. You're dealing with socioeconomics. You're dealing with all sorts of issues, important issues to people. And I want to really focus on making Brockton move forward in terms of building on the foundation that we have. And in this point in time, Brockton is really enjoying a huge renaissance when it comes to prices with regard to real estate. People recognize the location and proximity to Boston, Cape Cod, Rhode Island, New York. I mean, we're right on the highway, and we can get anywhere quickly. And the prices here in Brockton are huge. They've never been higher. And now is the time to really jump on that bandwagon and take that momentum and bring us to a place where we're going towards like a Quincy, where there's a lot of development, there's a lot of economic activity going on. And you can see it here in the downtown. There's a lot of good things going on, but there's some things that need attention to. And some of that's public safety. When certain spots in the city, you'll drive under a bridge, you'll drive down a street, and there's some inappropriate things. There's people camping out under the bridges, in some of the bridges. There's people doing unsanitary things under the bridges. We have resources, and these people need places to go. But out in the open, where you want to attract families, you want to attract business people, we have to have balance, and we have to have order in terms of making sure that our people feel safe. Our people feel that this is a place that business can be conducted, and this is part of the reason why I want to be a city councilor.
Absolutely. And really quickly, you mentioned you're a local business owner. What business do you own?
I have an attorney's office, law office of Sorgi and Minicello. We focus on real estate related matters, wills, trusts, and estates, business type of law. So we're pretty busy, and so we're on the cutting edge with all of this real estate boom that's going on.
Yeah,
which is great.
So is that what you think is these issues that you've talked about, public safety, real estate, do you feel these are the biggest issues facing Brockton right now, or are there other ones?
I think there's a lot of other issues. People want fairness in Brockton. There have been some issues in the past with regard to nepotism. People want to know that when they put in for a job in Brockton, that they're going to be qualified and they're going to be given a fair look. It's not going to be who what and how you got the job is based on your connection. People want fairness, and that's what everyone wants in Brockton. I think that here in the city we're very focused on our children, so we need to make sure that they have safe places to go and spend time. The parks need to be, in my opinion, I think overhauled, making sure that with the changes in the drug laws, with the people accepting marijuana as part of a norm, so to speak, like alcohol. People make the argument, well, you can go to the liquor store and get beer or wine or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think we see more issues on the streets with regard to our children and safety. People drive. You see a lot more incidents of people driving under the influence of this, that, or the other thing. And we need to make sure that the kids are safe. We need to make sure that the schools are safe. The kids in our schools, parents have said that there's a lot of marijuana activity in the schools, and it's causing upheaval. Well, that's partly because our society is saying, well, it's sending a signal that that's all right. And so long as people are responsible about things, well, that's fine. But understand that we need to focus on our children to make sure it's not appropriate for them at the young age. They have to mature, and they need to focus on what they need to be successful. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that our students and our education that they get from the Brockton Public Schools is top notch. So that's a piece. That's one piece. Education is a huge piece because it's the building block for successful people that we want to return to Brockton, and so our city will thrive. Mm-hmm. So it's all connected. It's all interconnected.
Oh, of course.
It's not one issue. It's a whole bunch of different things that get connected and make a vibrant city.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of things would you enact or try to enact as a city councilor if elected that would help these issues?
Well, I think that one thing we need to do is work closely with our public safety officials. Mm-hmm. Up in Ward 1, the big issue in Ward 1 right now is the nursing home that on Pearl Street that is looking to be a mental health center, and we need to make sure that our public safety officials, our police department, our elected officials, the people that want to operate the facility, do it in a responsible manner, because the neighbors are concerned with, they call them like walkaways, people that go to the facility and then for some reason decide they're not going to stay, they're not going to have their appointment, and people want to make sure that people aren't going to just stroll down the street and walk into the Hancock School or walk, go into the neighborhoods and because usually if people leave a facility like that, they're usually having a bad day, because they're there for their appointment, and if they're not going to go for their appointment, something's not right. Maybe they're just in a bad mood, or their medication's not right, so their mental health at the time needs some TLC. And people, you just have to make sure that the citizens in the neighborhoods are going to be safe. And it's a resource that would be good to have for people with mental health issues, but we need to ensure that the public safety component is really above board and adequate to deal with these types of concerns, which are legitimate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's a balance. We want to have these facilities, we want to help people, but the community deserves to know that we're safe. They're doing it responsibly, and we're comfortable because they've assured us and they're willing to work with us. The good thing is that the facility is willing to work with the community, and that's all about outreach, and that's what an elected official needs to do, be willing to talk to people about issues.
For sure. So as a ward councillor, you're required to represent your ward, but also looked out for the needs of the city. So how would you balance voting in terms of balancing voting for your ward versus voting for your ward versus voting for the city as a whole?
Excellent question. It happens all the time on the school committee. I represent Ward 1, the students of Ward 1. But let's not be naive. The votes affect the entire school district, So very few votes on the city council just affect Ward 1. They're much broader than just Ward 1. I've done a good job to represent Ward 1 with regard to the schools as a city as a school committee person, and the same facts and issues and will rise on the city council. It's big picture items like one of the issues that the city was grappling with was the water issue in Brockton. Whether to buy the desalination plant or not. That's not just a Ward 1 issue. That's the whole city. You know what I mean? You're not going to just like, well, Ward 1, it's good for Ward 1. No. It's the city. Come on, So it's the same thing. Public safety. It's not the police are only going to ride around Ward 1. Let's not be crazy. The police ride around the whole city. The firemen ride around the whole city. Public Health Works Department, they're going to serve the parks in Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So yes, I make sure that I'm got to be the eyes and ears for Ward 1, be certainly interested in all the Ward 1 issues, just like the Pearl Street issue right now with regard to the nursing home. But it's a broader, much bigger picture. You affect the entire city. So a Ward 1 councillor is really like a councillor at large in essence. I mean, you work with the councillors at large. You work with the big issues that affect the entire city, because what's going on downtown affects Ward 1, affects Ward 2, affects Ward 3, all the way through Ward 7. So, so it's a good place to be, because it would be boring just looking at Ward 1. Here we go, from here to here, and that's it now. Brockton is a big place, and that's what makes it a great place. So I have no problem with representing Ward 1, and certainly know the interactions and how things work with the city. Plus, I know the budgets in terms of, that's one advantage I have. I know the school budgets, and certainly how the city budgets, the whole city budgets intertwine with each other. So it's a good place to be.
Great. Getting into some more specific issues. 3 years ago, the city entered into a trash agreement that resulted in a smaller trash container. The decision resulted in homeowners having to purchase the city trash bags specifically for overflow. These bags have seen a 25% increase in cost after 2 years of service. Normal consumer trash bags can be purchased for several times less. What can we do about this issue?
Well, I can tell you this. When that small barrel arrived at my home, I was like, what is this? Because you go, I said to Patty, my wife, I said, wait a minute, is this big barrel the one for the recycles, or is this the trash? Because this little thing, I don't know how, there were 4 of us in the house, 2 boys and Patty and myself. I'm like, what the heck? So I can't say I'm a big fan of the small barrel. So I whatever I can do to get, like when you drive by the other towns, the barrels are pretty much the same size, one for recycle and one for everyday trash. So that's something that I'm in favor of, getting that larger barrel. So I will do everything in my power to look for resources and find money, because that's one of the things I actually am pretty good at. Because on the school system, as you probably know, for many years we've had a budget deficit and we had to learn to do more with less, unfortunately. And then we fought and we fought and we fought with our city councilors, with our local and state officials up in Boston, and my fellow school committee people and the community, the citizens of Brockton, and we got some really good money with the changes in the education funding. So I'm going to find some money in order to figure out how we're getting the larger barrel for the day-to-day trash, because for a normal family, it's just not enough. Even if you are very steadfast in recycling and really diligent about it, it still is tough for a family to fit it all in that one barrel. Yeah. But for huge families, I mean, lots of people, unfortunately, hopefully we can minimize the number of bags you have to buy, but maybe get you a bigger barrel like every other community when you drive through it. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tom. That's all the time we have today. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on what you would do as a city councilor. And to everyone watching, don't forget to vote in the citywide general election on November 2nd.
I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.